Thanks for tuning in to another physics lesson with Mr. M. In today's video, I'm going to be covering some of the basic vocabulary of mirrors and mirror ray diagrams. There are three different types of mirrors you need to know. The first being a plane mirror. A plane mirror is just another word for a flat mirror. It's just completely flat. Most mirrors are plane mirrors, just very flat. The other two that you need to know are concave mirrors and convex mirrors. And to help demonstrate these two types of mirrors, I have a spoon with me. Now, a spoon is nice because on one side you get a concave mirror and on the other side you get a convex mirror. Now, the easiest way that I remember concave versus convex is if you were to walk into the mirror, would you walk into it like a cave? So this part of the spoon, as you can see, is if I were to walk into it, I would walk into it as if it was a cave. So that is the concave side of the mirror. Now, these concave mirrors are kind of typically found like in the bathroom. They're your magnifying mirrors because when you get really close, it magnifies the image. On the back side, so the back side of your spoon, this is the convex side. Convex mirrors are like your side view mirrors on a car, or one of these may be hanging up in the ceiling, kind of at an intersection of a hallway, so you can kind of see around the bend so you don't walk into anyone. Okay, so concave, you can walk into it like a cave. Convex is just the other side, kind of the outer side. Now, some of the other vocabulary terms that you may need to know are things like a real image versus a virtual image, or an upright image versus an inverted image, or a larger image versus a smaller image. So to demonstrate that, I'm going to go to my diagrams here. Another thing I want to talk about is your diagram itself. Usually you have an object already there. Okay. And this is, you also see you got the F dot and then the C dot. And this would demonstrate that this is where the light is coming from. So the light's coming from here and hitting the mirror, which is this. And so based on what we just learned, what type of mirror is this? Well, if the light's coming from this side, we would be walking into this as if it were a cave. So this is a concave mirror. What the F represents is the focal point. The focal point is where all of the light rays reflect off of this mirror. They pass through this point. So all of the light rays that hit this mirror will pass through the focal point. Okay, and so there you can see they all go there. We call that the focal point. The C dot here represents the geometric center. And what that is trying to explain is if we took this concave mirror and we just continued it around and around, made it a sphere, the C is the center of that sphere. Okay, kind of like the radius of the mirror itself, okay, where that meets. Sometimes this is also known as 2F. It's known as 2F because it's twice the length of our focal length. So from the focal point to the mirror, our center is going to be twice that. Okay, so that's what those mean as well. So I mentioned we need to know what a real image is versus a virtual image. So if we have our object, let me go back here. If we have our object, when you go to do your ray diagrams, you're going to end up getting a reflected image. If that reflected image stays on the same side of the mirror, so all of this area to the left of my concave, I mean it even extends all the way out here. If we get an image on the same side of the mirror, we call that a real image. On the other hand, if we get an image, a reflected image, that appears behind the mirror, we call that a virtual image. So if it ends up being on this side, so any part over here behind this mirror, it's called a virtual image. Okay, so if you're working on a worksheet and they're asking you, is your reflected image real or virtual, this is how you can tell. Is it on the same side as the object, or is it located behind the mirror? We have real versus virtual. Another one of our image vocab words is it upright or is it inverted? So if we have our object here and we end up getting an image that looks like this, it's upside down. Well, when it's upside down, we call that inverted. If we end up with an image that stays upright, well, we call that upright. Okay? So when they're asking you, is your image inverted or upright, this is how you're going to tell. If it's upside down, it's inverted. If it's standing straight up like it was, then we call it upright. And the last section of vocab words is your image larger or smaller? Well, all you're doing here is you're comparing the image size compared to your object. So here, this is our reflected image. It's a lot smaller than our object. So we would say that this image here is smaller. If we have one, and typically they end up back here for a concave, we can end up with something that's much larger, right? So that about covers it. Our main vocab words. We now know the difference between a plane, concave, and convex mirror. We also know the difference between a real and virtual image, an upright versus an inverted image, and a smaller or larger image. Hopefully this video helped you in helping you with your homework or whatever else you're doing. Thanks for tuning in.